Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from Astrolada.com. And today, my guest is the incredible teacher Viktor, prolific teacher. We haven't heard from him in a while. And I'm very looking forward to see what he has to share with us, what he has prepared. Hello, Viktor.
Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone. Yes, it's been a while, but I'm back. I've been extremely busy. I'm still on my weight loss journey. And, uh, and
Incredible.
yeah, I was focusing a lot on myself.
You're such an example and inspiration. It's those 2 years.
Yeah, you know what? Saturn works really well on my rising sign currently. It's all about discipline and hard work, and then I'm ready to put the hard work in. And in Pisces, I'm ready to let go of some of the karmic attachments I have to my body, to food, and so forth. So hopefully this is gonna last now forever till the end of my life.
Amen. Saturn through my first house was nothing like that. I was thinking out to be strong and work out. I got sick and lost a lot of weight. So nothing to carry on
Hmm.
to the next 30 years.
Saturn comes from my ninth house, so I had to shift my perspective, how I look at weight loss. Saturn tightly trines my rising sign and Venus as well, right on the rising sign. So when I put my mind to it, I know ninth house as in the mind, the higher mind. And when we put your mind to something, then we can actually achieve it. And I'm a firm believer with such a strong Sagittarius that it's just all about optimism and faith, and the opportunities will come around. And Saturn is not just about mastery, but reward as well at the end of the day. When you put the time, effort, and whatever you need to, then it gives you loads of results. So I'm happy with Saturn. I've gone
Mm,
through my Saturn return ages ago, and then I learned to make peace with it.
amazing. That's very inspirational for all of us. I have Saturn exactly trying the ascendant in the ninth as well, but that when it was Saturn was transiting my first house, it was all about changing my beliefs about the world and about my long-term ideals and goals. But I love seeing your results. But anyway, what have you prepared for us?
Well, today I wanted to talk to you guys about Algol and Uranus conjunction because it's coming to its end. I mean, they started their cycle in 1941 and basically it's coming to an end, and then we're gonna have a new cycle starting between them two. And I thought it was going to be a good opportunity for us to actually examine Algol a little bit more as well, because I think there is not enough information out there. Everyone is so afraid of Algol good qualities as well, among many of the bad ones, of course. And when you open up the ancient textbooks, what you're gonna read about Algol is that, oh, your head is gonna get chopped off. And it could be the case, but let's be frank, out of, I don't know, 7 million or billion people, it might happen just to one or two. So therefore, we're gonna have to approach Algol in a completely different way. So Algol is one of the most unfortunate star. In case you do not know where it is placed currently on 26 degree of Taurus. Now, currently, because it's called a fixed star, but it's actually not a fixed star. So it is a fixed star, but it's moving 1 degree every 72 years. And the reason why they believe it was fixed because the lifespan of the ancient people were a lot shorter, so they did not see these stars moving. And obviously, they just looked at it with their naked eyes, so they couldn't see any type of movement. In order for you to understand Algol a little bit deeper, you might want to be looking at the myth of Algol. And Algol represents the head of the Gorgon Medusa, who was killed by Perseus. Now, the Medusa was originally a very beautiful girl, actually, and she was a servant to Pallas Athene. She was a virgin archetype. She was in her temple doing her little jobs. But then Pallas Athene had a little bit of a fight with Poseidon or Neptune, if you want to believe that. Um, And the Neptune, to take revenge on Pallas Athene, she raped this Medusa girl. And Pallas Athene believed that actually the girl encouraged Poseidon to sleep with her. So eventually she decided to take away her beauty, and she turned her head into kind of like these flocks of snakes. And then basically Perseus used a mirror to make her look into it, and then she turned into a stone. Now, every single man who looked at her or stared at her also turned to become a stone as well. So, according to Ptolemy or some of the ancient astrologers, Algol has got a Saturn and Jupiterian quality. Now, I do not like working with the planetary representations of fixed stars, and I'm going to tell you why. Because there are different authors with different ideas. And how they interpreted fixed stars, let's say you have got Algol in your third house, for example, and if you have got a planet there, for example, I do have got Chiron there, then I'm meant to be looking at Saturn and Jupiter as well at the same time, what they are doing, and then giving an interpretation accordingly. Now, because there are different authors with different ideas, therefore the quality of the fixed stars are different, meaning for everyone else. So maybe another author would be saying, no, it's going to be a Mars and Jupiter energy. So what am I going to look at? So there is a little bit of a problem with this. Now, this Medusa girl was actually a very sweet girl, but she was extremely proud of her beauty as well. She was very beautiful. And let's be frank, most likely Pallas Athene was a bit of jealous of her as well. So, but one thing about this fixed star is that every single author agreed that it's a Saturn and Jupiter quality. And then if you start thinking about that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction took place a good 3 years ago on 0 degree of Aquarius, and then we look at what was going on in the world, you know, now Algol is going to get activated by the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus, and they're going to be having a conjunction. Now, Algol in ancient
But when is
times
it
were
happening?
said that you're going to get.
It's when is exactly the conjunction of Uranus with Algol?
It's going to start in 2024 May, and then it's going to last till about 2025 May. So it's going to be an exact a year transit. The activation, the exact activation is going to be happening actually 3 times. So we're going to have one in July, we're going to have one sometimes around October, and then the final one is going to be sometimes around March, April 2024. But Uranus will be within orb from Algol, most likely from about 23 degrees. So we might start feeling actually 2024 February what Uranus and Algol conjunction might bring for us. Very interesting, I would like to mention that because Uranus will be within orb from Algol from February, March next year, that's exactly when the nodes will be in conjunction to Chiron as well, in the sign of Aries. So surely this is going to be a period of time when we're meant to be releasing certain type of relationships, for example, with others on a personal level. But on a mundane level, this could really talk about that the relationships are going to go rocky between countries as well, for example. Because how to interpret the nodes pretty much is that the South Node is always creating the problem for us, something which is not necessarily working in the society anymore. And therefore, we're going to have to listen to the North Node, develop that so that the solution can be born wherever the South Node is placed. So, for example, if the South Node is going to go into the sign of Libra, which is very much about relationships, enemies, but also partnership and alliances, business agreements, we have got some type of problem. So let's say the foundation of the business agreements are not there. So then the North Node wants us to kind of develop a sense of individuality. You know what? I can do this on my own as well. I do not need a business partner. And then the solution is going to be maybe coming up with a new business partnership eventually, Or, you know what, restructuring the whole idea about how a partnership should look like, and we're going to go back and we're going to fix it. So these two are going to get pretty much activated at the same time. Now, Algol, as I said, in ancient times, it was about being beheaded. It was a representation of death and violence, and someone who is going to fall from grace, or someone who is making bold decisions that might cause your own end, basically. It was very much about misfortune, cruelty, getting into danger. But I would say that, you know what, in modern world, most likely some of these meanings of alcohol are going to be there, but we're going to have to approach it with a pinch of salt. Now, interesting that alcohol comes from the word algol, which means alcohol. And in Greek way, algo, which actually means pain, drugs that remove pain from our body or from our mind, and all those type of things. So, for example, imagine that Uranus is coming to Algol, and then we take the meaning of alcohol, for example. This could really talk to us about some mental problems, for example, which people will start experiencing on a mundane level, and they're going to turn to alcohol. But also, it could be talking to us about how much of a problem it's going to become, for example, to have wine, or how much the alcohol is going to cost. I would say that alcohol in modern astrology is very much about just looking at the mythology of this Medusa girl. It would be talking about jealousy. So what it could pretty much represent is that, you know what, why does that person have this and that, and I do not have it? Because remember the North Node is going to be in the sign of Aries, which is about entitlement. So I'm also entitled to have something like the other person. And then Uranus kind of electrifies that, magnifies that, and then eventually it might get extremely angry and frustrated. Obviously, it is happening in the sign of Taurus, which can represent greed. It's a Venusian energy, and that's about greed and vanity and a little bit of a luxury and so forth. So this could pretty much talk to us about the cost of living. If you think it's high now, let's see what's going to happen in the next couple of years while Uranus and Algol will be meeting, because this could really rise. Uranus electrifies, Uranus shocks people. So the shock around the cost of living could be a major topic which is going to come up, but then eventually people might start getting fed up with it. And then they might start storming, for example, stores, or going on a riot or demonstrations and so forth. Also, I think Algol in modern astrology can represent anger.
Mhm.
Just think about, what does alcohol do to us? Why do we drink alcohol? Because first of all, we want to have fun. But secondly, once we are drunk, we're gonna be a lot more brave. We're gonna kind of take off all of our inhibitions, and we say things what we don't even mean. But also in my language, we say that when a drunk person says something, that's the truth usually. So this could talk to us about, for example, Algol sexual scandals. Obviously, Neptune raped the Medusa god. So it could talk to us about someone, most likely a political figure, who would have a sexual scandal, and that person would be falling from grace. Or even it could be something with the royalties as well. Algol pretty much appears in dictators' chart, or people with power. So
Mm.
like kings and prime ministers and so forth. So this is very much of a leadership type of a quality, pretty much. But what usually it indicates that you get to a position, and because of your greed
Mhm.
or the egotism, what is behind Algol, you're gonna from grace. And imagine, for example, a sexual scandal. which obviously can ruin your career, for example. If you have got any planet connecting to Algol, usually Algol makes that planet feel weakened, powerless. Talking about, oh, maybe you want to know what type of orb I use for it. I would not use more than 2-degree orb because fixed tiles do not radiate light. So therefore, we're going to have to minimize that. But some other people use 5-degree. You know what? You're going to have to look at whether what works for you. So alcohol has got loads of sexual intensity around it. It wants to do the taboo things, something which is forbidden. So with Uranus, we might be doing things, you know what, we know that's not the right thing to do, but I'm still going to be doing. Typically, people who have got prominent algol in their chart, they also have got a double life as well. Now, why is that? Because when I'm drunk, then I'm drunk. When I'm sober, then I'm going to be acting in a different way. So it could talk to us about someone who is two-faced. So we might be seeing some type of mixed messages in the world, especially in political segments. You know, what we say one thing and then something else happens instead. Algol demands respects, but usually has nothing to offer back though in return. And why do they want to do that? Because it's in the sign of Taurus, which is about self-love. They want loyalty. They want to protect the self. So most likely there is, with people with prominent Algol, they experience disloyalty, dishonesty, or even abandonment in their life. And that would be the psychological motive behind. So, for example, with this conjunction to Uranus, this could talk to us about I feel like, you know, I was a world leader, for example, I was the best singer ever, and then all of a sudden people are leaving me behind. So they still show some type of disloyalty. It's going to frustrate me, so I'm going to act out on that because I want to take revenge. Obviously, the Medusa girl also wanted to take revenge as well, but she was not powerful enough to do so on Pallas Athene. So, and then it's interesting to think about that Pallas Athene took away her beauty. Why did she do that? Was she jealous? Was she greedy? Did she want to become beautiful as well? Or did she just do that because she wanted to come across as brutal and wanting to show her power to others that, you know what, you cannot screw with me. So you might start seeing this kind of behavior more in the world where we walk away from people, we're going to focus a lot more on our self-identity, individuality, and you know what, enough of helping others. I have to be sweeping around my garden first. So from a behavior point of view, this is very possible. Also, you know, I looked at, for example, our infamous topic, which was COVID. And when the COVID got announced, we had a Sedna and an Algol conjunction. Now, as we said, Algol is connected to pain, suffering, being forced to do something, um, emotionally intense period usually that indicates, yes, it can indicate accidents to the head as well. But if we think about that head for a second, you know what, that would talk to us about mental problems. Something which is a kind of like a chemical reaction which is going down on in our heads. So, and then we had Sedna there, and Sedna is very much about the realization that I cannot rely on anyone. It's a asteroid which represents betrayal of a father figure or a important person in our life. So this could really talk to us about someone who is going to get demoted, for example, in the political world, or just going to walk out. And people are going to be disheartened about it, or they are going to be extremely happy. They're going to be asking for the person to, you know, retire or walk out of the door because they had made some, you know, bad decisions, for example. Sedna can represent economic, financial, ecological, and social disasters as well. But you know what? I think what happened here is that Algol, which forced us, Sedna to get locked up because mythology-wise, Sedna was given away to a evil spirit. She was a spoiled child. She never wanted to get married, and the father basically wanted to get rid of her. Now, the father eventually realized what mistake he made. He didn't know that he was actually giving away to an evil spirit, tried to rescue her, but it didn't work out, so both of them died. Now, Sedna died as well, but that's when she found her spiritual mission. And her spiritual mission was to become one of the goddesses of lakes and oceans and basically water overall. But this is pretty much of the bottom of the ocean, what she represents. So this could talk to us about, for example, this point is going to get activated, unfortunately, by Uranus, this Sedna-Algol conjunction. So yes, this could bring back some type of, unfortunately, some type of head-related disease as well. Kind of like let's say if it's a disease, and hopefully it's not, but if it's a disease, then in a Taurus, I can imagine kind of like this acne breakouts of the skin or something which is itchy, for example, and so forth. But something which is head related. Also, alcohol can represent, alcohol can represent rage, but also belittled people as well. So we can have that really much of a feeling that we are belittled, our opinion does not matter, and alcohol is always represented as a villain. But the question is whether are we a victim or are we a villain? Because we have got this duality within us anyway. So Uranus can make the villain even more of a villain, and it can make the victim more of a victim as well. Taurus is about self-preservation and self-protection. So people are gonna try to protect themselves from whatever is going on around us. Taurus and Aries together is connected to survival instincts overall. And so one of the major questions I think with Uranus and Algol is that how are you going to try to balance out your mental health? Are you going to do that by addictions, for example? Because alcohol represents those, as in alcoholism, drug abuse, and so forth. So we might start seeing with Uranus that the number of addicts, for example, are going to be significantly increasing. We should not forget that before Uranus meets Algol, Jupiter will be meeting Uranus as well, somewhere around, I guess, 21, 22 degree, almost close enough to Algol as well. And Jupiter increases the greed, increases whatever it touches. And Jupiter and Uranus would talk to us about increased freedom. So we want to get our freedom back. But also it could represent, for example, because this Medusa girl became very ugly. So Algol can represent that I don't feel good in my own skin. I feel like ugly. So Uranus and Jupiter might be bringing in the plastic surgery to be even a bigger fashion overall, because people will not feel good in their own skin overall. Also, it could talk about Algol can represent competition and rivalry and slander as well. These people do anything they can to win. So if they have to cheat, they're gonna cheat. But they can become also very paranoid that people are here to catch me out or people are here to hurt me. So all these can get electrified. And psychologically speaking, Uranus will want you to break away from any of your paranoid thoughts. It will want you to get enlightened about why you are addicted, why you are not protecting the self, or why you are not feeling good in your own skin. It will want you to have more of a competitive spirit as well and to take care of yourself. But most likely, we're going to see loads of competitions going on between countries, such as I can imagine some type of bidding. Imagine a situation where, I don't know, I need wheat, for instance, not wheat, wheat from,
Yes, the bread.
a certain country. And then they're going to say, okay, it's $5. And then because we are so low on wheat, maybe another country says, you know what, give it to me and I'm going to give you $6. So a competition for food could be a major topic here. But also it could indicate the opposite, that we're going to have, I don't think it's going to be the opposite, that we have got an accumulated amount of food, of certain items, and then they're going to lower the price that much that, they're going to kind of throw it at you, basically, almost free of charge. I don't think so. The
Never.
reason why, because,
It doesn't have
yeah,
that.
never, exactly. Because Algol represents status. So it's about, I want to stay firm, I want to have status, and I want to be powerful. And I would do anything to kind of do that. So if you think about Donald Trump, actually, he has got his midheaven on Algol. He can come across very mysterious to others. Usually people who have got Algol around the midheaven have got a very unique appearance. And usually these people are someone who don't fit the norms overall. But if you think about his political success, he had that all, but then we fall from grace. That would be the idea with Algol. And it's interesting that Uranus will be Uranus Algol conjunction obviously gonna be happening on his midheaven. So I guess Donald Trump will be a topic in the next 2 years. Maybe is it because he's gonna win and it's gonna shock people, or maybe it's the fact that he's not gonna win and then he's gonna come up with some retaliation about it. But either way, I think Donald Trump is going to be a major topic there. Now, definitely Algol, which represents with the midheaven scandal at work, so something scandalous is gonna be going down on his life. Some other keywords for Algol. We can feel cursed, for example. We can feel that there is kind of like a witch around us who put a curse onto us. But Algol can represent eye problems as well. So from a psychological point of view, what do I not see, which is right in front of me? But also it could talk to us about actually having some eye problems as well. Now, why it is interesting for us pretty much is because Algol and Uranus, the previous conjunction, happened in 1941, somewhere around beginning of the year. And it was more than a year transit, pretty much. So what we saw there was that we had obviously the Second World War, which was blooming.
Wow.
And basically that was the height of the World War II. Now, also, that was the year when we had the atom bomb thrown. And I looked at the date. There was Mars in conjunction to Uranus too.
Oh,
Now, this time around, when the first conjunction is happening in 2024, in the summer, June, July, that's when Uranus is going to be sitting on our ball. Guess what? Mars is going to be there too.
no way. The same?
Yeah. And it's going to be opposed by Pallas Athene. So we've got so much of a warrior energy involved with Algol and with Algol, Uranus, and Mars, that it makes me think that we're going to see surely some type of very impatient energies. Obviously, Mars, which represents the police force and the army and the navies, and it can represent the NATO as well. I can pretty much imagine actually that NATO will fall apart, or there is going to be some type of debate there. But I can also imagine something around the European Union too. But that conjunction in 1941 pretty much started, I mean, bloomed up, or, the First World War. I'm
That's
Second
sort
World
of
War, sorry.
the ancient books say about Algol that it shows massacres, bodies upon bodies. So
That's right.
Uranus symbolizes explosions as well. So it sounds a bit
Yeah, oh yeah,
dangerous.
that's right.
Very dangerous. Yeah.
Explosion. This is a very volatile energy, unfortunately. But I looked back the history in other ways as well. So I looked at the last square between Uranus and Algol, and that was in 2002. However, at the time, we did have a Saturn-Pluto opposition going on as well. Now, in that year, we had the worst ever foot and mouth epidemic struck in the UK.
It's
But
it's
also,
a mad cow
say
disease.
again?
Is that foot and mouth? Is that mad cow disease or something else?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
The prion disease.
Um, which is very Taurian, right? Because the
Mad
Taurus
cow disease.
represents, um, to a certain extent, what we eat,
Mhm.
right? So some type of food problems. Also in the, and then I looked at the 1960 to 1961 period. Also, we had a Uranus and Algol square happening as well. And that was a period of time when the Cuban Missile Crisis pretty much started with Castro, Cuba aligned with the USSR, and so forth. And then Kennedy got elected. Anyway, we know the story, but also the Berlin Wall went up as well at the same time.
Hmm.
So, and then we had the Soviets began shipping missiles to Cuba. So here you go. That's again a military factor here. So obviously, it was pretty much of a nuclear war. Then we had one in 1980 and 1981 when Uranus was squaring again, Algol, and
Opposite.
that was the longest conventional war of the 20th century between Iraq and Iran. And that was, on top of my head, an 8, 9 year um, war. So,
So
am I here to scare people? You
well,
know,
looking back, the last conjunction, it's scary. That's the height of the war that happened.
I mean, yes, and I think the poverty, or the number of rich people versus the number of uh, poor people could be a major topic here, because obviously Taurus represents banking. So
Mhm.
is it going to be a volatile period for the banking system? You know what? Most likely, yes.
Mm.
But in a positive way, let's be also positive,
Yeah.
which has got its negative connotations also at the same time. Um, um, this could pretty much indicate, for example, that we're gonna have a social media channel coming around, which is gonna start ruling the world, basically. So now, interesting that threads started coming up, right? So interesting. The other thing is that Uranus represents electricity. So it could be talking about an alternative way, replacing electricity or making it more bearable, affordable, or it could just talk to us about the cost of the electricity. It's going to be the cost of electricity, because while North Node went through Taurus, obviously the prices of electricity increased significantly. Now Uranus is going to be hitting the North Node, so I think it's going to pump up it even more. On a positive way, that could really talk to us some innovative breakthroughs technologically as well, something which we haven't seen yet. Now, that would explain Pluto in the sign of Aquarius as well, which is obviously the death of the social media and kind of like uh, being replaced with something more advanced, or something which we haven't seen just before yet.
Yeah.
Uranus is very much of a chaotic stuff. Taurus represents our shopping list. So you know what? While we had COVID, we already saw that people went mad and they were fighting over toilet paper on the counters or at the counters. So most likely people will do something similar again. But Uranus is about the desire to make changes. It's kind of like something which is not fitting anymore for the society, and we want to be expanding that so that we can welcome more people. That's the major difference between Capricorn and Aquarius, that Capricorn is protecting the immediate surrounding. It's kind of like a castle and having the walls up so that my immediate people are safe. And Aquarius also wants to protect as well. It just wants to open up the doors, and it wants to invite more people, or it wants to kind of put the walls, further away from the castle so that more people can fit into that. So the other thing which I was thinking about, because Taurus represents sexuality, to a certain extent with North Node in the sign of Aries, the identity matters. You know what? This is going to become a major topic. The genderism, the identity matters, how many genders we've got, can we teach it at school? All this type of stuff surely will be there. And even I was going to think for a second today that I can imagine, for example, that some of the languages will make the she or he pronouns disappear, because it's about dividing people into categories, these type of things. So some type of eccentric, extreme decision makings, what we can actually expect here.
Mhm.
Also, I can imagine there was another idea I had. Oh, well, from a music point of view, you know what? It might be because I was looking at the music industry, and with Uranus and Algol aspects, usually the rock and roll seems to be a big topic. So maybe this rock and roll is going to come back. Two big names who were born with Algol and Uranus conjunction. One of them is John Lennon, and the other one is Bob Dylan.
Oh, wow.
So maybe they are going to be on the, as a topic, or that type of music might be, coming up. Definitely Uranus, which represents technology. So
I
is
love.
the we might have the latest items, for example, or I need this iPhone, and I don't know, people are gonna go to the bank and wanting to get the latest iPhone and not thinking about their expenditures and so forth. But you know what? Uranus also represents air and rail transports. So we can make so many new discoveries in the sky as well, or definitely the faster planes, or the faster rail transportations could be very important or major, but it can also bring some type of natural disasters as well. Uranus can represent earthquakes.
Mhm.
Taurus represents the
Mhm.
earth.
Mhm.
So we might see that more and more. For example, we had a major one in Turkey, right? Uranus was hitting their fourth house ruler there, which is Venus. And that was happening on 18 degree. That's exactly where the Uranus North Node and Mars conjunction took place a good almost 2 years ago now. So,
One year
but also
last summer.
1 year ago, yeah, July. Exactly a year ago almost. It was 29th of July on top of my head. But yeah, so unfortunately that could talk to us about that too. So travel accidents. It could talk to us about um, um, electricity or civic and labor organizations as well. So maybe people are going to be standing up for their working rights, or how much the salary is, or that salary is not enough for anything anymore. Uranus can represent criminalities, kind of like these, not necessarily the pickpockets, but more of the masterminds overall. So the lawlessness could be coming here, where we don't care about the law anymore and the moral codes. We're going to care a lot more about, our survival needs. And of course, as you said, Uranus can represent um, ex, uh, explosions as well. So very possible that, yes, we're gonna experience some type of explosions, and maybe it's just gonna be happening, in the sky somehow. But definitely some astrological changes. I pretty much can imagine. Oh, and the Uranus rules anything to do with hurricanes and typhoons and tornadoes. So we might see those sweeping through in certain areas where, unfortunately, as you said, Algol in ancient textbook represent bodies on top of each other. So it can take majority of people's life as well. This
Fascinating.
is a this is a not necessarily the nicest topic, I guess.
But
But this is a this is a very difficult constellation, and as much as we would like to be positive with Algol, it is a overall negative mindset. I think on a personal level, it's about staying sober. Now, I'm not talking about not having a glass of wine, and I'm not talking about alcohol either, but just making sure that we see clearly what is going on in our lives. If we go back just recently, that we had the Saturn-Uranus square going on, and then we had the Uranus North Node conjunction on 18 degree of Taurus, and then Uranus still playing a role, which is definitely going to be messing up the banking system. And yes, that could talk to us about the banking system, how it's going to be radically changing. So that, electronic wallet is pretty much coming.
oh
So
yeah.
we're not gonna get rid of that. The electrical coins and so forth is gonna come. And most like, I know in England they started doing that, and some other countries are introducing as well. Maybe China on top of my head. But you know what? It's gonna get more wider basically in other countries as well. And then most likely people would get really pissed off with that, because no one wants to be kind of monitored, right? And that's the opposite sign, Scorpio, where we feel controlled, where we feel manipulated, where we are forced to do something. And Argo represents that forcing
Mm.
energy as well, that we must do something which we do not want to.
Mhm. Wow. So some of those dangerous things might come from people getting upset and angry and acting out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm
Thank
definitely angry with Mars being there, and Pallas Athene as well. I mean, Pallas Athene is about fighting for justice. It's
Mhm.
the modern ruler of Libra. It uses tactics and it uses wisdom to Pallas Athene always tries to avoid war.
Mhm.
That's her last resolution. However, she's a warrior princess.
Yeah.
If there is no other choice, it goes into a war. Um, Mythologically speaking, when Mars and Pallas Athene coupled up, they never lost a war. So this Uranus is pretty much telling us that at the end of the day, we need to believe in collective power. We need to be able to know that together we are stronger than separately. Now,
Mhm.
that's where the challenge is, in my opinion, with the Aries and the North Node, sorry, the Aries and the Libra nodal shifts, where the North Node will want us to create individuality, independency. But we need to see that without others, you know what, we are nothing. A soldier is never going to win a war alone. So it's just about how to you know, balance out that codependence issue. It's not about depending on others. It's about creating your individuality, but using others for your benefit as well. And they use you for for their benefit as well. So that would be the idea here, a contractual agreement, which is obviously going to be very challenging because Mars, as the ruler of North Node on Algol, both of them are really greedy energies. Something gets blown out of the ballpark. So I'm seeing very angry people. Very angry people.
Wow.
Now, one thing which I didn't do for today, but now it actually made me interested, if the US chart is getting triggered there. So I want to just quickly double check that if we have time for it. I mean, first of all, I'm looking at the US dollar chart because obviously Taurus can represent inflations and all these type of things. Now, it's going to be bang on opposing the US dollar's rising sign. Its rising sign is 26 degree of Scorpio.
Yeah. Wow.
So this could talk to us about US banks to be crashing, basically.
Dollar hyperinflation.
High inflations and so forth. And you know what? Neptune is still in the sign of Pisces. Historically speaking, Neptune in water signs does not bring such an extreme inflation and deflation type of things, or at least it always gets corrected. In fire signs, it tends to be bringing some really kind of strong influence on the inflation. And let's not forget that we're going to have the Saturn and Uranus, sorry, Saturn and Neptune conjunction happening just right after Uranus moves into Gemini. So we'll be also, you know, money is going to get a big issue there. Now I'm just looking at the Sibley chart. There are two charts for US, so it's always a little bit of a debate which one to use. You know, they do not have anything on 26 degree of Taurus. It's gonna not do much in their chart. It has got an inconjunction to Pluto, sorry, a trine to Pluto. But when it comes to Algol, I only use squares, oppositions, and conjunctions. So not much is happening there in their chart, but in the US dollar, it does.
So that's where the massacre
Just,
Algol is.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Victor.
Well, that's what I prepared for today.
And by the way, Victor is starting 2 new courses. Can you tell us about them? You see what an amazing teacher Victor is. He has about 60 courses on Astrolada and you are discounting them. Was it like that?
Yeah, they are all discounted now, 40% on all courses, and my readings are 30% discounted as well. If someone wants to look at their upcoming energies. I've got 2 new courses, which is going to get launched. One of them is this weekend, and that's going to be all about the nodes. So how to predict with the nodes, what the nodes mean actually, nodal returns, the nodal phases, aspects to your nodes, especially by squares, which are called karmic steps, and how to analyze your nodes so that you know what type of karma you have. Nodes are one of the ingredients of your karma. The other ones are Saturn, Moon, and the Sun. So those 4 needs to be read together to have a kind of like a picture about your karmic journey. And the other one is going to be about the secrets of progression. So I'm going to teach about solar arc, tertiary progressions, secondary progressions. So anything you need to know about progressions and how to combine transits and progressions for a better forecast.
Are those like
That's
one
going to start
course,
in.
or are they long ones? Are both courses?
These are longer ones. The nodes are going to be, on top of my head, 8 weeks. Well, to go through the houses and the signs, we're going to need a couple of lectures for that. The skip step to our karma, also we need at least one longer lecture for that. And then the prediction part, I'm going to teach about the lunar gestation, which is an 18-month or 9-month cycle. Then transits with nodes and other timing techniques as well. So it should be a very interesting one. And this is honoring the nodal changes now. So you might be able to become your own professional astrologer and then see what things are changing. And these are also discounted for another 2 weeks.
Thank
so
you.
You might want to grab your seat.
Yes, so I'll put the links below. I'll put cards if you're interested to learn with Viktor. Incredibly knowledgeable, ancient, modern, any kind of astrology that exists, Viktor knows it. And he's very experienced. He constantly does daily and weekly and monthly hundreds of readings, which I stopped doing 5 years ago. So he's constantly seeing, researching. So thank you so much, Viktor. Thank you for the incredible analysis of Uranus on Algol. Everyone be safe, be wise over the next 2 years, 2-3 years. It's coming on.
It's coming on. I think, to be frank, it's going to affect the US dollar the most, and probably something around Iran and the Middle East. That's what I'm seeing pretty much, quite a lot. Because I looked at the astrocartography and then it goes through the Middle East big time. But also it is affecting Germany and Russia too. So will be interesting to see whether those two countries will be clashing as well, or maybe just Germany's banking system is gonna go funny. But Germany, Russia, and the Middle East pop up very significantly.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Viktor. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And be blessed.